Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorder when I head out for a walk and deliver an episode to you while I stroll around. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, good afternoon, listeners. It is a blustery January day here in suburban Chicago. I am taking a walk in what might be a dumb time. It's a little snowy or hail. Might be hail. This might be a dumb time to go for a walk, but whatever. I'm going to give it a try. We'll see. Hopefully it's snow and not rain. I don't really want to get rained on. I really want to go for a walk. In part so I can talk to you. Welcome to Season 4 of Pick Up and Deliver. I've just come off of my short hiatus, which was prefaced by a slightly longer hiatus, which was marked the end of Season 3, where now this is episode 300. Welcome, or 301. So for those of you who are new to the podcast, my name is Brendan Riley. I am a game player, game designer, English professor who studies and writes about games as well. And this is my podcast that I make while I'm walking around. It originally started as a nod to the fact that I spend a lot of time walking around, or at least I did in the before times. My commute to the college where I teach in downtown Chicago is about an hour and 20 minutes each direction, with 40 minutes of that walking. It's good exercise and I don't mind it, but I did find that I was feeling a little underproductive during those walks. I felt like if I'm spending this much time walking around, it would be great for it to be sort of productive. I mean, I do get a lot of podcasts listened to, but I felt like there's more I could be doing. One of the ways that I started doing more was to think about a podcast. Hence this podcast, Pick Up and Deliver. The majority of the times that I've recorded the episodes are on the walk home from the train at the end of my day commute. So at the end of my day, coming home from my school, I will make some notes about the episode, and then I will record. I clip on a lavalier mic and I record my walk home. The podcast varies. Probably a third to a half of the episodes are kind of first look impressions or deep dive reviews of games that I've played. Otherwise, I will sometimes do thematic conversations about games or thinking about theme in games with regard to particular lists and all sorts of different approaches. One of the things I started last year was doing some superlative lists, best of kind of things, but I took cue from somewhere, I don't recall where, to rethink how I do. A lot of people, when they do a best of list, they will at the beginning of the year do a list reflecting on the best games to come out during the previous year. This is something Richard Ham-Rado does, for example, but then he always revisits it in like April after he's had a chance to play a few of the games that came out that he didn't get to yet. So I approached this same issue, or the same problem, but the solution that I found, and I say found because I got it from someone, and I don't know who. I bet if you go listen to the equivalent of this episode at the beginning of season 3, around episode 200 or 201, something like that, you will find me telling you where I got it, because this is the second year I've done it. I'm beating around the bush. What I do is I rate the previous year's games a year back. So, having just completed 2020, it's now time for me to do my best of 2019 lists. Get it? I like it. It's pretty great. This year I'm going to do 2 episodes focused around the best of 2019. The first episode, the one you're listening to right now, I'm going to give out some superlative awards. I looked through the list of games that I played. I set aside the ones that I thought should be in my top whatever number, in my top games list. And then of the other games published in 2019, I picked out a few that I thought were worthy of calling out, even if I didn't want to put them in my top list. hope that makes sense. So here it is. This is my superlative games of 2019. I will say superlative is not a word I use very often, but I for some reason used it 4 times now here on this episode. I'm going to have to call this superlatives. All right. So special awards for games published in 2019. My filter for this is that the game is listed as a 2019 game on Board Game Geek. There might be a couple games on here that were quote-unquote published in 2019, but were not available to me until 2020. I don't care. The easiest way to do it is just let Board Game Geek decide what year the game was published, and that's the year I go with. Okay, so first award goes for the best game my game group doesn't want to play. And here I mean my game group, specifically the people that I play with about once a month. It's my family and a couple of family friends. Usually that's the group I usually play Pandemic Legacy with. It's also the group I have not been playing The King's Dilemma with. I was really excited by the idea of The King's Dilemma. I love the notion of it. I actually really like the gameplay too. But my co-players they never really jumped into the debate, the argument, the negotiation part of it. And so the gameplay elements were kind of lackluster a little bit. The story was fun, and I really like the way that the game has you do something, and then later another idea comes out of that, and the story evolves, and you get points based on how you're doing. But apparently I'm the only one in my game group who liked it, because everybody kind of said, no, we don't want to play that anymore. Now, I will say there was a caveat. We don't want to play that remotely, because we tried playing it remotely one time, and it was not good. We may try again once we return to the face-to-face gaming, which we're doing occasionally with that group, because that's a really small number of people. But anyway, that's the best game my game group doesn't want to play. The King's Dilemma. Best party game that leads to quiet thinking. I almost called this the Codenames Award. Codenames is a fun party game because it's a fun party game. You play it in groups. You could do it at a party, but it's got to be a quiet party because there's a point in each round of Codenames where people have to think of a clue, and they just sit there silently, and everybody just kind of waits or chit-chats or whatever. The party game that came out in 2019 that does this is Wavelength. Wavelength is a great game. It gives you these weird categories like best role model to worst role model, or best role model to worst influence, or something. And then you have to come up with, you get a number, and you have to kind of come up with you get a gradation between those two ends of the category. You have to come up with an example that will get your group to say that number. It's a great game, really interesting, really well made, interesting components, funny categories, really fun to play, and I like it a lot. But it does have this problem of a party game where when it's time to actually take the next move, the person whose turn it is sits silently for a minute or two, and everybody just kind of has to wait. So, best party game that involves quiet thinking, Wavelength. Next up, best game with a strange theme. And by strange theme here, I mean an enjoyable theme that borders on incomprehensible or game-breaking because of its being so weird. And for me, this is clearly the Isle of Cats. The Isle of Cats is a great game from City of Games designer Frank West. It has a delightful idea of you're sort of rescuing these cats and you're putting them on this board. It's really great. But there's this weird thing where the plot of the game is that there's an island full of cats and there's an evil pirate coming to murder all the cats. So you have to rescue as many cats as you can before they all get murdered. What is this? What a weird theme. It doesn't make any sense. And so then you're trying to get the cats onto your boat, and you get points for the cats being with families of other cats that look a lot like it's a bunch of interesting mechanisms that lead to a really interesting puzzle that has an adorable theme that makes no sense at all. Isle of Cats, really weird theme. Best game for 2019 with a weird theme. I will say it was a close run, though. I'm going to offer as an honorable mention the game from Thunderworks Games. Jordy Allen is the designer. I might be wrong about that. and that's Cartographers. Now, Cartographers is a great game. The theme makes some sense, but not really, because the whole idea of the theme is that you are drawing a map that fits the requirements the queen wants. Wait, what? That doesn't make any sense. Was this some sort of Potemkin village? You're creating a space that matches what the queen wants? That's not what cartographers do. Cartographers draw the space that exists. Now, because the game, it's not like you're planners. It's not like there's an empty land and you're planning how it's going to be developed. It's not called planners. And so anyway, in my headcanon, you're lazy cartographers. And what you're doing, the queen has sent you to find all of these things. What you're doing is you're just sitting down with a parchment and you're just drawing the land that you think the queen would want to see, rather than actually going out and finding them. It doesn't make any sense to call it cartographers then, but anyway, so that's the honorable mention, best game with a strange theme. Next one, this is best 5 minutes of hilarity. Best 5 minutes of hilarity. This is Heist. Heist is a simple party or simple, cooperative dexterity game or speed game from Rob Daviau, oddly, made by University Games. The art on the box is atrocious. It's just an ugly game. But it has this cool gizmo inside that talks to you. And basically what you're doing is you're grabbing things and moving them around and hitting buttons. And it's just ridiculous fun. It's a very silly game, really good time for like 2 or 3 5-minute rounds at the end of a night or to get you going at the beginning of the night. It's dumb, stupid fun, but I don't know, it's great. It gives me the same kind of joy as Happy Salmon, although Happy Salmon wins out because it's got the hilarious fish movement of your hands, but that's not a 2019 game. Heist is, however, and so Heist is my best 5 minutes of hilarity of 2019. I will say Heist was a very close runner for the last game on this list, or the last award on this list as well, so I'll bring it up again there. The next award is my only negative award for this year, and that's the most disappointing game. I generally don't spend a lot of time talking about games I was disappointed in or games I don't like. You know, I will often, in my Shooting from the Hip episode, if I play a game I didn't really like, I will tell you about it. And then you'll probably never hear about that game again. So, it's not really in my style to talk about a game that was disappointing, but it seemed worthwhile to mention it. And that for me is Obscurio. Obscurio is kind of the follow-up to Mysterium. It's from the same company and has the same basic idea in terms of you have a person giving you these sort of weird cards that have this weird art on them and you're trying to communicate with people, blah, blah, blah. But Obscurio also has a bunch of other things going on, and one of the complaints about Mysterium is that they added in too much stuff. They added in things going on that actually make the game less fun. And I think Obscurio does that to Mysterium even more so. There's honestly, I can't even remember. I played it back in the summer. It has to do with locations, and you're trying to get people to guess a thing, but there are people trying to guess other things and mislead the group. There's a traitor element. The art was very nice, but ultimately, just play Mysterium. So when I heard about Obscurio, I thought it was interesting. I saw someone had it, and I was excited to try it, but ultimately not for me. Obscurio, most disappointing game of 2019. All right, the next one is the game from 2019 I'm looking forward to knowing better. And that is Valley of the Kings. Now, Valley of the Kings I picked up in the premium edition from my local game shop. It comes with beautiful tarot-sized cards and this really neat burial mechanism where you are recruiting cards and then using them in your deck building, and then at some point you need to choose to bury them, because you only get points if they're buried. But the thing is, they all have really good powers, so if you bury them too soon, your deck slows down and you don't get all the good use of those powers. But the game ends kind of abruptly, so you really have to... Holy cow. We just had a guy totally not properly judge when he should go or not, and ended up making another car slow down, or would have gotten T-boned. Not good either way. So in the game, you're managing your deck by burying your cards in your tomb and then scoring them if they're buried. It's a really neat mechanism that balances between your plan to take difficult actions and your need to have the engine in your deck running smoothly. The main reason I want to get to know it better is that I really like the game, I like the rhythm of it, and we've only used like a third of the cards. Because it was the deluxe edition, or the collector's edition, it came with all 3 expansions, or both expansions, which means that the game has 3 different sets of cards that you can use, plus you're allowed to mix and match them. So there's a lot of different mechanisms and ideas to explore in the game, and I really enjoyed our first couple plays of it. That is Valley of the Kings. Runner-up to this game is It's a Wonderful World. I was gung-ho for It's a Wonderful World when we first got it. I really liked my first few plays of it, and then we haven't played it again since. It was on my daughter's 5 for 20 list last year, and I don't think we played it more than once. So this is a game I really would like to get back out and check out the mechanisms at play. I just haven't had a chance. All right, my last of my superlative awards today is the special award for fastest purchase, by which I mean the shortest amount of time between when I finished playing a game and when I bought it. Now the 2 runners up are, one of them is Heist, and Heist is a game that I really enjoyed. I did not buy it right away, but we bought a copy for my game group Toggle. So I kind of bought it, and I knew I could play it anytime, which is why I didn't buy it at the time. I later found it on deep discount, and I got myself a copy. So I do have it now. So that's part of why that one's an honorable mention. The other honorable mention is Tiny Towns, which I really enjoyed Tiny Towns, and I did order it immediately after I played it, but it was not yet available. And so it would not be the fastest purchase in terms of finishing, playing, and buying. And actually the winner for fastest purchase is actually not even a game I played in 2019. It's a game I played in 2020. I played an online stream of this game, and I ordered it before the stream was even done. I liked it that much. And then I didn't get the game for like 7 or 8 months. That is Trails of Tucana. Trails of Tucana, originally published in 2019, republished in 2020, and finally available in the US just in time for me to buy it the instant after it was on the stream. Those are my superlative games from 2019. The games that did not quite make my top games of the year list, but still were worth calling out and mentioning. What superlative awards would you give out to 2019 games? What games should I have added? How would you characterize these games if not using the awards that I laid out? All of these are crucial questions, and I look forward to hearing from you about them. You can fill me in over on Board Game Geek and Guild 3269, and join us for the conversation there. Until next time, I hope your next walk is as pleasant as mine was. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.